Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to your Daily Penguin. This is our tour through my Penguin Classic wall, and for November I'm trying to concentrate on nonfiction in observance, in my own way, of Nonfiction November, a BookTube event created by Olive at a Book Olive and co-hosted by a bunch of great people that urges you to read more nonfiction in the month of November if that's all you're up for, but all the time otherwise, nonfiction is a wonderful, wonderful, and sometimes neglected kind of writing here on even on such a community as BookTube. It's one of my favorite things to read. I prefer it endlessly to fiction. And since we're not going to get all of my penguins done in the remaining time that we have left in this year, I thought I might concentrate a little on some themes, at least for a bit. So for November, we're going to do quite a bit of nonfiction. And we're going to start today with a volume that I really like. I go back to it, but it is frustrating. It's this. It's the Selected Writings of Walter Raleigh. And this is edited with an introduction by Gerald Hammond. And it has a large selection of his poetry. He was a better poet than people remember. And selections from some other tracts that he did, especially Elizabethan colonizing propaganda tracts, and selections from each of the chapters of his History of the World. So, in this book, you are going to get a wide sampling of a remarkable figure from the Elizabethan period, a truly emblematic figure from the Elizabethan period. But you can guess what my problem with this volume is. It's a problem that I have with many volumes. If you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. This is way too small. This should be 3 times as big. If you did a book that was 3 times as big as this, you could fit virtually everything from Sir Walter Raleigh, and why wouldn't you do that? He was a fine prose stylist, he was a fine poet, and he was an important figure in Elizabeth's reign. Plenty of important figures in Elizabeth's reign didn't write and weren't fine prose stylists and weren't fine poets. The combination, I think, makes it noteworthy enough. I know the reason why you would make a volume like this is because it's aimed at schools. So excerpts are about as much as you're going to expect your little daffodils to do with Walter Raleigh. But even so, we have seen in the course of this tour of my penguins that plenty of Penguin Classics aren't aimed at schools. Plenty of them don't make any sense at all, except on maybe quietly nationalistic grounds, quietly patriotic grounds. And this is a perfect example of that. Walter Raleigh is a big, flamboyant, extremely flawed figure in English history. Surely that is an occasion, maybe that's the reason why this volume exists at all, but surely even so, that's an occasion for more of him. Oh God, there goes the light. Oh my God, my technology. I was trying to go to this bar of light right here, but you'll have to live with it. We don't get that in this volume. If I remember correctly, this has a really good introduction, really good notes. So those little chunks, those excerpts, those bits and pieces that float all around here aren't going to come to you out of nowhere. This author, if I remember correctly, contextualizes them quite well. But you're not going to get Raleigh writing at length anywhere in his prose. You'll get more of his poetry than I think is warranted. I'm sure that's another example of a concession to schools, because I'm sure that Raleigh is mostly taught as a poet in schools, hence all the poetry in this volume. One way or another, it's just another Penguin Classic that I'm glad I have, but that I could easily improve on it in a perfect world myself. And that's never going to come, but still, your Penguin Classic today is a recommend, especially if this is a figure whose name you will know, plenty of figures whose name you know, especially, let's say, from the Elizabethan period, an extremely literate period in history. Like I mentioned, didn't write anything that was worth you reading. This one did. So, in the same sense that I would recommend the writings of Cicero, I'd recommend the writings of Walter Raleigh. And I also want to make another recommendation. I want to make a Penguin adjacent recommendation. I'm not doing enough of those. Oh my God, the sun is encroaching on my face. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. Oh, there you go. I want to make a Penguin adjacent recommendation. There's a novel about Sir Walter Raleigh that's terrific. I'm pretty sure that it and everything else this author has written is out of print. This is The Great George Garrett, and this is Death of the Fox. It's a big, fat, satisfyingly plump historical novel that this author wrote that is well worth your time to find. If it crops up in for a nickel at a garage sale or an attic sale, or if you find it at a thrift shop, It's had many, many, many editions. A hardcover with a dust jacket. This is from a trade paperback that came out 40 years ago. There have been many mass market paperbacks, some with better covers than others. It exists. It's out there, used, and it's well worth your time. And while we're on the subject, I don't know. I don't want to become too tiresome on the subject, but everything this author wrote is well worth your time. All of it is. Especially his historical novels. Death of the Fox, especially his Christopher Marlowe novel, Entered from the Sun. Oh my, what a reading experience. Someday, maybe, these will all be reprinted in a beautiful uniform edition. That would be great. I don't have any idea what George Garrett's existence is like out there online. I have no idea if anybody knows his name, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity since as you can see, it's about our guy. So I thought I would recommend that as well. And that is your Penguin for today. So I'm going to sign off for now, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.